Hello, I'm back again. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create the facial expressions setup for your character inside After Effects. I'm using Zoe Huddlestone character here for today because she had a couple expressions for the eye, couple expressions for the mouth, and also a couple for the eyebrows. So I decided to choose this character. Here's her design. However, I went ahead and did some cleanup on the characters, so when I want to bring them into After Effects, I will spend less time to set them all in After Effects. The only thing that I did was to create one layer for all the mouth shapes. So if I zoom in, so you can see that I've created a group for all the mouth shapes, and they are actually aligned in Photoshop. So when I bring them into After Effects, I will, as I said, spend less time on managing them all together. You have to make sure that they're all lined up. Either you can do it in Photoshop or inside After Effects, it doesn't matter. I'm going to also name these layers so I can find them easier when I bring them into After Effects. So this is mouth 1. Mouth 2 and mouth 3. So here's one of them, the other one is the brows. So if I find them here, they are all here right on top of each other. Okay, so this is brow 1, brow 2, and brow 3, as well as for the eye. Okay. 0, 1, or just 1. I2 and I3. Also, it doesn't hurt to name your layers right inside Photoshop, so when you bring them into After Effects, the names actually will show up. Remember to do it before importing that, because if you import your import your files into After Effects, if you want to rename them here, you will break the link from your Photoshop file and After Effects file. All right, so one thing that I wanted to also talk about is that when you're importing a multi-layered file into After Effects, if you create groups inside Photoshop and put some layers in them, they will come as a composition inside After Effects. So I'll keep them as they are right now, just to show you what would happen when I import this PSD file. So I'm going to kind of save this. So I'm going to After Effects and I'm going to import the PSD file here. Not this one. The facial rigging PSD. All right, okay. Retain layer size, composition, and hit OK. So it comes with the main composition, and inside that, as you can see, that those folders, those 3 folders that I had, they're actually coming as a new comp inside it. So these comps, if I double click on them, they are actually having those different shapes that we had inside, or different layers that we had inside Photoshop. All right, we need to do some cleanup in terms of the size of the layers and such. So I'm going to go one by one on them and see what we can do. Before that, I'm going to do or rearrange my panels here, because I did this panel for another tutorial that I was rigging a character, so we are done with that. I'm going to go to this arrangement for my panels. All right, I'm going to go back to my main comp. I'm going to name this character. And this would be my character. I will spend time rigging all the elements, all the legs and arms and everything. But for now, in this tutorial, I'm just focused on the facial expressions. So assuming that the body itself is rigged and we have the face, for example, here, and the eyes and brows and mouth are as separate layers, we're going to replace them with these comps that we have here. First, I'm going to do some cleanup in these compositions that contain the mouth shapes. So I'm gonna just make sure that my comp is not that big, so I'm gonna just lower its settings. I'm hitting Control K or Command K to bring up the composition settings. I'm gonna choose lower values for this. I'm gonna just see if this size is good or not, maybe even smaller than that. Also, just to show you another method that you can crop your region. I'm going to do that on the other compositions. For now, I'm going to just use the composition settings to do this. So the width of maybe 100 would be enough. Okay. And again, it's very important to have your layers to be lined up. So if you want to, for example, say that this is the part that I want to have these lips to line up, so you have to just make sure that you arrange them in a way that they're actually right on top of each other, right? Okay. I'm gonna do the same thing for the other two layers. So the brows. So let's see also another method that you can crop the region. I'm gonna use the this tool here, region of interest. I'm gonna click and drag a rectangle around these, and I'm going to go to layer or maybe composition and crop comp to region of interest. So you first select that region that you want to treat it as a region of interest, and you will crop your comp to crop your composition. Since I'm a little bit picky with numbers, I always go to my settings and just type in whole values here, so my comps are actually having whole values under sizes. I'm gonna do the same thing for the eyes. Here are the eyes. One more time, create a region of interest and composition, crop comp to region of interest, and one more time, check the settings, type in whole values here, and we're all set. All right. So the next step is to put them right on the spot, on the face. So I'm gonna put them right here. I'll keep those as a guide, so when I'm done, I'll just hide the other layers. These are the brows, so I'm gonna bring them over here, and these are the mouth shapes, and I'm gonna bring them here. All right, and I'm going to go here and delete these layers because we no longer need them. All right, cool. So what's the next step? We need to be able to switch between each one of these. So for example, if I hide this shape and if I go back to my main comp, you will see that the shape of the eye is going to be changed. That's good. But how can I do that without going inside that and without turning on and off those visibilities? Because these are not animatable. So I have to figure out how I can fix it. One tool that we are going to use here is a time remap tool that comes in After Effects, and we are gonna benefit it to actually switch between different shapes of the eyes or the brows here. In order to use that, we first need to make sure that every one of these shapes are actually only occupying one frame in this comp. So in order to make them only one frame, you need to select all of them and grab these down here, right, to make them shorter. However, there's also another shortcut that is useful inside After Effects. If you want to change the length of any given layer using your current time marker, you can go to that frame and select the layers that you want to shorten them and hold down Alt and close bracket, and it will bring the end of your layer to that time marker. All right. And then you need to separate the layers. So each frame is going to each frame in your comp is going to represent only one shape of the mouth, right? And also, since the rest of this composition is empty, I'm going to just shorten the length of the whole comp. For the next one, I'm going to show you also some other shortcuts that you can use. So I'm going to say that this composition is only having 3 frames in it. All right. And when you are done, still this comp length is not 3 frames. You need to say that I want to trim the comp to work area. All right. So now this comp is only having 3 frames in it. and each one of those frames is actually representing one of the shapes for the mouth. All right, so we are done with this comp. I'm going to do the same thing for the brows, this time using some shortcuts. So I know that I want to have only one frame for each shape. I'm going to go back to my first frame, hold down, select all the layers, hold down Alt and close bracket. It's going to make them only one frame. And also I'm going to separate them. So I'm going to select all of them, and this time I'm going to go to animation, keyframe assistant, and sequence layers. It's going to technically doing the same thing. It's going to separate them from each other in the timeline. Good. And I just need to change the overall length of my comp to these 3 frames. So I need to trim comp work area, trim to work area. All right, good. And one more for the eye. I'm going to select all of these, Alt, close bracket, and keyframe assistant, sequence layers, no overlap, okay, and I'm going to shorten the length of my comp to this. So this time I'm going to hit N. It will bring the end of the timeline to here, and I'm going to trim comp to work area. All right. So I modified those comps. Okay, so these are only 3 frames long. That's why I had to zoom in to see them. All right. So they're good. I'm having different shapes, but I want to be able to control them. And also, since these comps are actually having only 3 frames length, when I go move forward in the timeline, they will actually disappear. So as I said, there is a tool here in After Effects that we can change or remap the time of any given layer. So for example, this mouth layer, if I right click on it and go to time, enable time remapping, it will give me 2 keyframes at the beginning and at the end of this comp. And usually when you do that, your comp length would be still like this. However, since we are now having the time remap tool applied to it, we can actually extend the length of the comp and just bring it to the last frame of the composition, the main composition. So this will exist up until to the end of the comp. However, let's see what it gives us. When you enable time remapping on any given layer, it will come with an attribute here that is called the time remap, and as you can see, it has frame numbers in it. So this is the frame number, seconds, minutes, and hours. This comp only has 3 frames in it, so if I change the frame number to 2, it's going to actually read the frame number 2 of that composition on this frame. If I change this to, for example, 1, goes back to the first frame, or the second frame, and so on. So for example, frame 0, that would be this shape. So technically I'm able to switch between different shapes inside this composition. And remember, this time remap tool is only saying that I want to read frame number 2 of this footage or comp or whatever it is. If it's animated, I'm just gonna see the frame number 2 of it. And also one more thing that you need to do is that usually when you're animating a facial expression, if you set a keyframe here and change that to, for example, 3, since you're having keyframes, it starts from 0, goes to 1, goes to 2, and then 3, right? We don't want to do that. We want to just hold on frame 0 or hold on frame 1 or hold on frame 2 and so on. So usually for facial expressions, we will toggle the keyframes to hold keyframe. So when we are setting a keyframe, it will just freeze on that frame number until we change them. So for example, here I'm going to choose frame 2, and since it's set to hold keyframes, it's going to just stay on frame 0 or stay on frame 2 until I change it to something else. All right, frame 1, and as you can see, I'm able to change them during my animation. I'll do the same thing on the eyebrows. So right click, enable time remapping, and change these keyframes to a hold keyframe. And now I can switch between different shapes for the eyes. Frame number 2, 1, and so on. Good. I'm gonna do the same thing for the eyes. Time, enable time remapping, select the keyframes and toggle hold on them, and now I can switch between different shapes for the eyes. And if your eyes are disappearing, it's that because your composition only has 3 frames in it, which starts from 0, so it's 0, 1, 2. And right now you're saying that I want to see frame number 3 or number 5 or number 7 of it, and it doesn't have that in it. So you need to actually choose frame numbers that you already have a shape for them. So for example, we don't have a frame number 3 in the comp. Okay. So that's the way you can do it. The keyframes are made on the time remap tool. These are the keyframes. And remember, whenever you are creating your facial expressions, don't forget to set your keyframes to be on hold. And you should be good to go. All right.